Hello class, this video lecture covers Zetta Elliott's play Her Vow and the themes of relationships and women empowerment Elliott uses in this play. As always, the first step towards any analysis of a text we read in this class is a understanding of the plot. Remember, the plot is the term we use to describe the stuff that happens in a story. Characters, settings, events, consequences. Our two main characters for Her Vow are Leela and Jerome. They are a married couple. Leela would be our protagonist and Jerome would be our antagonist. Their setting is the living room. The overall plot of the play could be described as a competition and debate or argument between two characters and their desires. Jerome wants Leela to not change, and he does not want her to explore her new life and career. Leela wants Jerome to be a part of her new life, but won't change her plans. The character's goals: Jerome wants to keep things the way they were before the surgery. He wants Leela to stay focused on him. Leela wants to create a new relationship where she can have more agency in their partnership as a married couple. So, the basic plot of the play is centered around something that has happened after a surgery. So, in Her Vow, we do not see this surgery or have this surgery explained to us. Instead, we have a story where Leela had a bad car accident. Jerome gives permission for an experimental surgery using Leela's DNA to help heal her. It should be noticed that this surgery is sort of in its way kind of almost a sci-fi magical event in that there's no current surgery that it's supposed to have a relationship to. It's not real. It's a powerful magical thing. And in the play, Elliott is using the surgery that Leela had as a metaphor. And it is a metaphor for Leela's change in identity and her ability to heal herself emotionally as much as physically. So, a metaphor is, at its core, a comparison of two unlike things. So, in this case, a surgery and identity oftentimes would be two things that we would think about as completely different. You go in for a surgery to fix a broken arm, that is not like developing your identity. So, in this case, in the play, the physical act of healing, the surgery, is also a metaphor to represent the emotional, psychological healing that is Leela's new sense of self. The surgery also continues as a larger metaphor towards society in that women have this ability to mentally and spiritually and emotionally heal themselves. It is a metaphor for self empowerment, the idea that women can self empower themselves without the need of outside assistance, help from a man. What they have is already within them. So, let's continue talking about this magical or science fiction surgery that is a metaphor. Right? We are told in the play that nothing of Jerome could save Leela, that he could not give anything from his body, like a blood donor or bone marrow donor or kidney donor. You know, they give you something that is healed you. Instead, the doctor says that he could harvest the DNA from Leela that would be her essence to replace the damaged cells with healthy ones. So already we see in the way that this surgery is described that it's very metaphorical. It's about healing essences and damage within the self from the self, not from anyone else. So this surgery, as we talked about, does not represent any real science and is a metaphor to describe Leela's change in attitude and self-perception. The surgery is a metaphor to describe her act of self-empowerment. So after the surgery, during the play, a lot of the play is taken up between an argument of Leela and Jerome. They are arguing about the nature of their relationship and their problems with it. So if we look at Leela's side and Jerome's side, we can make a sort of two columns that lay out the stages of their argument and their debate amongst each other, right? We see that Leela wants to explore this new potential, this new feeling of empowerment that she has given her more energy, has given her more of a desire to go out and try new things. She wants the independence to go and do these things. But she's very clear that she wants Jerome to be a part of her on this journey. She's not breaking up with Jerome. She's not saying she won't spend any time with Jerome. She's saying she wants to go and experience and do these new things that she feels confident in doing and would like him to be a part of this. When Jerome threatens her with suicide, she says this threat is oppressive. At her core, Leela is arguing for a new, different, but equal relationship with Jerome, where they could be more of a partnership. Jerome, on the other hand, doesn't like that there's more of her and that she's decided to take classes. When Jerome means that there is more of her, he's saying that she takes up more oxygen in the room. She's more focused on her own experiences and her own feelings as opposed to his feelings. She expects her to stay by his side. Right? He is really angry that she doesn't need him. And this is on page 49, I would say, is the key crux of his argument. He wants to be needed as opposed to wanted. And the two differences of those words are the major differences in their argument over their relationship. Leela says that she wants him and she loves him. And Jerome says that she must need him in order for him to feel wanted. So we see that Jerome's use of that word need is more possessive, more controlling. All right, when we need something, we have to have it. When we want something, we can enjoy it still and it can still be important. But it's not this life or death, incredibly possessive type of ownership, which we see him continue on 49 when he threatens suicide if she was not there. This threat of suicide is very much a controlling motion that, if you leave, you are responsible for my death. And it's kind of a very aggressive thing that Jerome does, which is why Leela pushes back against it. So overall, Jerome's arguments are focused on controlling Leela, getting her to stop her changes, to stop her self-empowerment, and focus more on needing him. That is Jerome's point. So we can see how these two people have reached fundamentally different interpretations of how their relationships should go. So after their argument, the play ends on a long monologue. All right. This monologue is a key term in literature or drama, which means an extended speech by one person. In plays, we can have a bunch of different types of monologues. We can have a dramatic monologue. We can have a soliloquy. We could have an interior monologue. All of these you can read on the PowerPoint. And it's sort of a turning to the audience and expressing a long, uninterrupted speech by one character. So ask yourself this: what type of monologue was Leela's speech at the end of the play? So now that you've answered that, let's focus in on what this last long monologue does in tying together the theme of female empowerment that Elliott wants you as the audience member to take away from the play. So in this long monologue, we see that Leela expresses her thoughts about empowerment and the way that she has changed. On page 45, Leela discusses that the surgery created a light bulb moment when she understood her life to become something that she was meant to say or to show or embody for others' sake. She understood herself to be a model for other women to learn about this empowerment that exists already within them. She goes on to discuss the potential for women to have everything they need to heal themselves would already be inside of them. So this spiritual and emotional transformation that Leela had is something that all women could do because, just like her, they already possess that ability within themselves. She thinks that this transformation of women could lead to a new relationship between men and women that would be freer. She states very clearly that this self empowerment is not about rejecting men or removing men. It's about creating a new, freer, healthier relationship between men and women where things could even be better. At its core, her monologue presents an idea for a new relationship between men and women that would be more equal and free for both sides. So, to conclude, her vow is Elliott's discussion of female empowerment. Elliott uses the metaphor of Leela's surgery to represent a moment of transformation when Leela understands a new way to view herself as a person. It is a metaphor for her empowerment as a person more so than the healing of her physical body. The monologue expresses Leela's ideas about how women can heal themselves and be complete people that do not need men or any other outside reference to do this. This view in Elliott's play, expressed by Leela, would create a new, more equitable relationship between men and women throughout society. This ends our discussion of her vow and the plays of Zetta Elliott.